up you guys, it's Aisling and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my top 5 go-to eyeshadow palettes of late. These palettes are probably not going to be any surprise to you because I have definitely mentioned them at least once, twice, if not 10 times on my channel, but I haven't compiled them all together in a video before, so I thought that's what I would do today. I thought it might help you guys as well if there were eyeshadow palettes that you were hemming and hawing over and you wanted to pick up, and it's been a long time since I've talked about like my favourite eyeshadow palettes, so all that side, let's get stuck into it. Also, can we just like deal with my actual hands right now? I just reviewed the Blue Bloods palette from Jeffree Star and for some reason my hands are covered in blue eyeshadow. Why is this? I don't know. I'm going to start off with my first eyeshadow palette that I've been using loads lately. Again, this is not a new palette that I think I've mentioned this tons of times in videos before, or in videos where I'm talking about eyeshadow palettes that you need to purchase. But I'm mentioning it again today just in case somebody might have stumbled upon this video for the first time and they didn't know what eyeshadow palettes to begin, because like if you don't have this, who are you? This palette is the Jaclyn Hill palette from Morphe. And this palette came out, ooh, would it be 2 years ago? Would it be more? I don't know. Morphe kindly sent this to me at the time of its release. It was like the best thing I think I ever got sent in Pure up till that point. I remember the day I got this, I was like, oh my god, I'm so obsessed. This is what it looks like on the inside. Mine is extremely messy because I've had it, like I said, for over 2 years. I just think that this palette is one of the most outstanding palettes on the market. It is one of those palettes that has everything in it, from pops of colour to neutral. Now there are some things that I do complain about when I am using this palette, and for instance these two shades up top, why are they both shimmery? I just don't know. One matte, one shimmer would have been such a good idea. Oh no, I'm not just sticking my fingers into like a majority of the shadows. Great. I also feel like there are too many of these like brown tones like that are similar. Well, there's two there and like this one here. I just feel like they are a little bit too similar on the eye, maybe not in the palette. And same with some of these shimmery pinks up here up top. Other than that, the palette is very diverse, very, what's the word that I'm looking for? Cohesive, that's the word. And they blend seamlessly into each other. They're not choppy on the eye. They are quite buttery and creamy. There's no powderiness to them. I really enjoyed this palette and I think it is a very diverse palette. And again, if you just had this, you probably wouldn't need much more because it kind of has everything in it. Now it does get extremely grubby. Mine is like filthy and I do need to clean it down, but it is an absolutely beautiful palette in my opinion. The next eyeshadow palette I want to recommend you guys pick up is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Sultry palette. Now this palette is just new to my collection. It's actually my newest palette other than the Blue Bloods one, but it is my newest palette to my collection. I have been using it a lot since I received it. I got it in mid-February, so I have been using it, what, for the last like 8 weeks nearly. And I really enjoy this palette. If you're more into like cool tone shades and you don't want as much warmth as like the Jaclyn Hill palette offers, then this palette would definitely be more up your alley. Now I know in comparison to the Jaclyn Hill palette this is a little bit more expensive, but there is a dupe for it, which is the Temptress palette. Now I did a video on this. It's from a brand called Alter Ego, and I did do an entire video dedicated to duping this. Unfortunately, they're only delivering to the US at the moment, so just if you are wondering and you did like this palette but you didn't want to spend the whatever 48 euro it is or whatever exact price it is, because I know it differs from different countries. I do really enjoy this palette because it blends so well on my eyes. And also I love these shimmery shades in it. They're the reason that I go to this palette. So there's some of the shimmery shades. I just absolutely love the quality of them, and I love the consistency and how easy that they blend. And also this Black Noir. Oh, it's such a deep dark black shade. Can we just? It's so beautiful. I just think that the shadows in this palette are really different as well. I know it's like you look at it and you're like, wow, but this is just a basic like cool tone palette. I have so many palettes. I'm not bragging, but I have a lot of palettes and I have nothing that compares to this other than the Temptress one, which is like trying to dupe it. But I don't have any eyeshadow palettes that look like this in my collection at all, and I really enjoy it. And I just think the quality is quite exceptional in this palette. It's exactly what you would expect from Anastasia Beverly Hills. I just love the quality and the layout of the shadows and how cohesive it is, and the cool toned feel of this palette. I just think it's different to anything that Anastasia's ever brought out and different to any other palette that I own in my collection. So this next palette is a lot more affordable. This palette costs between 25 and 28. I think it's €25. And it's the Beauty Bay Origin palette. It looks like this on the inside. Absolutely gorgeous palette. The quality of the shadows in this are exceptional, especially again for the price. Before I start talking about the positives, I just want to talk about a few of the negs first, which is kind of some of these shimmeries. They're a teeny bit lackluster in my opinion. They just need a little bit more work. We saw with the Anastasia eyeshadows just how pigmented they were. Some of these are not great. Like that is some of the shimmery shades. They're just not what I would be expecting from shimmery shades. As you can see there, they're just a little bit flat for me. That is the only major complaint I do have with this palette, but I obviously have to mention it because there's no point in me saying, oh yeah, great, it's wonderful, and then you like pick up some of the shimmers and you're like, she never mentioned that. Not overly keen on the shimmers. The matte shades, definitely. So there's this matte cream here that I use that to highlight a lot with. I like this one here as well. It's kind of like a duochrome too. All of the matte shades are amazing. They blend so well and they're so easy to layer on top of each other. It's an incredible palette. I think most of these Beauty Bay palettes are great, but this is just my favorite one, my go-to one, the one I pick up the most. It has a huge mirror on it as well, so it just means that you're able to like do your makeup on the go. And it comes in quite compact packaging as well, so you could travel with this. I don't think I would, but they have smaller pans as well. They also have like the 9-pan shadows, and you could definitely travel with them because they're a little bit more convenient. But I'm just talking about the quality here. I just think it's amazing, really good quality, really easy to work with. And I just love the array of shadows in this. I love these like yellows. I just think it's a really great palette. It is designed to be like a colour by numbers. Goes from base, transition, crease, liner, pop and highlight all the way down. And you're supposed to take a column at a time. For those of you who are new to makeup, I think that's a really great way to kind of help people who are just kind of a little bit lost when it comes to eyeshadow and placement and stuff like that. For those of you who have used eyeshadows for a long time, you know, I think it's kind of pretty self-explanatory. You just create whatever sort of look you're looking for. But I do like that they have catered for newbies and kind of more advanced people as well. I just really like the palettes from Beauty Bay. The Origin one is definitely my favorite. They also have a warm tone version of this as well, which I have over in the apartment. Like, it wouldn't be my go-to. I prefer this one because I would use the Jaclyn Hill one if I'm looking for more like warm toned eyeshadows, like especially when it comes to the neutral spectrum. So my second last palette I want to talk about is probably the only colourful palette I have to talk about today, and it is the Nordvina palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is by far my absolute favourite release ever from Anastasia Beverly Hills, ever. Like, period. Like, I just can't stress how much I love it. You guys know how much I love purple eyeshadows, and this would not be what I would call a purple eyeshadow palette, but it has those elements of purple in it. The only thing I do wish that they had in this palette that they actually have in the nude palette from Huda Beauty. I'm not mentioning this palette today because it's just not one that I dip into that regularly, but I love the shade Love Bite in this one. Oh my god, absolutely beautiful. And I just wish that they had like that kind of purpley, really like deep purpley tone in this. I do feel like the shade Passion is great. That is the darkest shade in the palette, so if you were looking for a little bit of depth in it, it doesn't really have it. But I have created so many beautiful purple eyeshadow looks using this palette. I just think it's gorgeous. And again, the same quality as you would get from your Anastasia Beverly Hills shadows. So that's the shades there. They're just absolutely gorgeous. The only shadow that I do have a little bit of an issue with is Drama here in the end, because I do feel like it does fall down my face. I have to be very careful with applying it. But I love the shades in this, and I just think that the way they blend is great, and I just love the look of it. Because I love purple eyeshadows so much, I would just bring this palette with me. When I went to Portugal last September, this was the only eyeshadow palette that I brought with me for like the week, and it was the only eyeshadow palettes that I need, or eyeshadow colours that I needed, because it does have a little bit of neutral in it. So sometimes I just went in with Incense just into my crease and that was it. But it has the pops of colour as well, so I might use just Incense in my crease and then go in with something like Rose Gold maybe in the inner corner, and then place something like Celestial on my lower lash line, or Drama or something like that. I just feel it was really diverse for me, especially because I have like hazel brown eyes. This looks really nice on my eye colour. It just makes them pop and stand out, and I just really love it, and I love the quality of it. So enough said about that. And the final eyeshadow palette I want to talk about today is the Naked Reloaded palette. Absolutely adore this palette. This came out 6 weeks ago. Initially, I wasn't like feeling this palette. I was just kind of like, However, since like having it in my collection or in my possession, I feel I dip into this eyeshadow palette nearly every day for something. Like it could be just for boundaries, just to, you know, blend out my crease, or it could be for this one here, Angel Fire, which I absolutely love on the inner part of my eye, or it could be for this brown here in Endgame, just to kind of blend out the outer corner of my eye or just add a bit of depth to it. I also love the shade Dreamweaver. I love the shade Burn. I just think it is a really nice eyeshadow palette, and you're probably looking at it going, that's really basic, it's really boring. But to be fair, it gives you everything that you want from a neutral eyeshadow look, and this has created some of the most beautiful eye looks that I have worn in the last while. And I've worn maybe like 2-3 eyeshadows from this, and like filmed a video and you guys were like, your eye look is amazing, and I literally only used maybe 3 eyeshadows from this. This palette blends out really well in the eyes. There's no choppiness from it. It's really easy to use, obviously. And I also feel that this is a great eyeshadow palette for a beginner. Like the Naked palette, the original Naked palette, was my very first eyeshadow palette, and I got it, you know, when I first started getting really into makeup, and it was like one of the best eyeshadow palettes I ever used. That's some of the shades there from the Naked Reloaded, and I just feel like this is one of those palettes that I recommend to someone who's just starting out with makeup, doesn't really have that much makeup, and sort of looking for a neutral palette. This is your go-to man. Just because I feel like there's enough shades in it. It's not overwhelming, like where the Beauty Bay palette can be a little bit overwhelming, a little bit kind of like, where do I go? What do I use? Whereas this palette is very cohesive. All the shades are designed to go together, and they all blend and work well together. And I just really recommend it for those of you who are just getting into makeup, or even like myself. I have tons of neutral eyeshadow palettes, but I still have been dipping in and out of this so much lately. It's just been my go-to, and I just really love it. I love the quality of the shades, and like I said in my monthly favorites, I think it was my March hits and misses, I can't believe I was almost going to pass up on this. Like I would never have picked this up, and I don't realize how much I actually use it. I use this every time I put makeup on. That's how much I love it. If I'm going for like a basic eye look, I will use this, or if I'm going for like a more dramatic eye look. Obviously just on the neutral spectrum. Like if I'm looking for like a pop of colour, I'll go into like a different palette. It just won't be my go-to for like colour, but I will definitely use it for blending out the crease, or like I said, creating a bit of dimension and depth to a neutral eye look. And I just really like it, and I honestly think it is a very good eyeshadow palette to have in your collection. Okay, so that completes today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys saw some maybe eyeshadow palettes that you wanted to try or test out, or maybe include in your collection. Do let me know, guys, if there's any eyeshadow palettes that you really love and you really recommend, and you think that I should be trying, and maybe I have never talked about it before. I love to find new makeup products, so let me know what you guys are loving. And also, if there's any videos that you guys want to see coming up, do let me know. I know I still have to film my everyday makeup look that will be coming very soon, but obviously I wasn't going to film it today because hello, I have like blue eyes. This is definitely not my everyday go-to makeup look, but I will film that look for you guys very shortly. Just if there's anything in the meantime, let me know, send your request my way, and I will talk to all of you guys in my next video. I love you so much. Mwah! Bye guys.